And we are recording. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever you guys are watching. Uh, Welcome to Woowoocon. As you know me, sexy Bitcoin Ben. Well, there's even a sexier guy in cryptos and in silver and gold. Nobody, but nobody has his pulse on the silver world and the history of the silver manipulation. Why is silver valuable? In what different aspects is silver valuable? Because there's medical, there's industrial, there's all these uses for silver. There's no one who knows more about it, in my opinion, than Mr. Glix Weir.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be at Woowoocon.
Oh man, welcome to the first annual Woowoocon. Next year, you're going to be here live.
Sounds good to me.
Awesome. Now, the reason I wanted to have you on Woowoocon is because I think a lot of people, and you've laid this out so many times that I think you have the right approach on explaining it, where people freak out enough that they need to without like running into the sea,
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a hard transition. You've said that we're going to lose a lot of people, and I agree with you. Can you actually dive in on that and
Sure.
and explain it a little bit more?
Absolutely. The transition out of the unbacked fiat monetary system to something new, it's been planned for so long, especially in the United States. It's not like they don't know. The monetary authorities don't know what's going on. It's not like the public doesn't know. That's a fact. The vast majority of the public doesn't understand that we live in it's kind of like a slave state, but it's more a controlled type of economy other than a capitalistic free market economy. And the problem with that is it's popping up everywhere. We have a huge shortage of silver. There's all kinds of problems in the valuation. Everything's a bubble now. And that was required to end the game. There was an economic formula written down and published in the 1960s called On the Road to the Golden Age. And it was dealing with the golden rule theory of economics, which is any generation should not spend more than what they save, because you're just going to put next generations into debt. And to get out of the problem we had in the 60s, they were doing that. They were going more and more into debt. This guy came up with a formula that says, hey, the best way to get out of the debt of especially unbacked fiat money is to run the printing presses as hard as possible, soaking up all the benefits. Build your roads, your bridges, your houses, and then build it so big, blow up every bubble so big so that when it pops, we'll still have that infrastructure. We'll have what's in our hands. We have what we've built, but all the debt will go away. And yes, it will be painful for many people who mentally can't get around that system. But it is, I think, absolutely necessary to move forward in a place where money is no longer debt. Money is an asset. So I'm real excited about it. Yes, I think people will die, but I don't think as many people will die as have dying during the system because of these crazy wars that we fight, because of the crazy assassinations that are done, and we don't know. Somebody killed himself and shot himself 3 times with a shotgun in the head. You see stuff like that. Everything's broken, but it's crazy now. To get past that, we're gonna have to destroy what we had, and what we had was not good. Unbacked fiat money controlled by a small elite people rigging computer programs on every exchange, cryptos, silver, stock market, bond market, even the actual currency markets are hugely rehypothecated and rigged by a small number of people. And that's the key. You're not going to beat them at their game, but you can remove yourself from the game using cryptos, using silver. And at some point, they're going to do exactly what they planned from the 1960s, blow it up so big that it pops and nobody can, nothing will survive that unless you have it in your own possession. That's my big thing.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you on all that. I mean, it's the system we have lived under has killed millions and millions of people. And the system we're moving into will actually be more honest. Not saying all of our problems are like going to go away because we're flawed humans, but at least we'll have more of an honest chance because it will be a system that's actually built on honest money, you know, silver and gold and Bitcoin and with the advancements in technology of blockchain and and all that is we have a great future. It's just getting there that's a little scary.
Well, yeah, and I think one of the big things to think about when you're thinking about cryptos and a new money system, Web 3.0, they call it, it's really a decentralized system because we're going to lose trust. When the old system fails, everybody will lose trust in those people running it. The Federal Reserve, the World Bank, the U.S. Treasury, governments. We're going to lose trust in all that. So moving into a world where you don't have to trust people, which is the beauty of the blockchain, in every aspect of what we do, in governance, in money, in how you run your business, how everything's organized. It doesn't have to. We don't need central authorities almost for anything. And that's what they're calling Web 3.0 is going to be a very decentralized world, but we need to get rid of what we have, that decentralized part first. That is happening. They've blown the bubbles to their, yes, it's unsustainable, but even the people at the very top are saying it's time to move on. And that's the key. The people who click the mouse to rig the crypto markets, to rig the gold and silver markets, they're the ones saying, at the Federal Reserve level in the U.S., that's where I got my Road to Ruta documents from, the Fed. They said there will be a time when it's no longer beneficial to rig the markets for any country, and that's when it's going to end, and that's where we are.
Yeah, once again, right there with you. That's one of the reasons that I launched this idea of a nationwide chain of clubs because we are going to lose so much trust as this happens that a lot of things are going to go local.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be block by block, city by city, county by county, parish by parish. And that's why, reluctantly, you and I have talked, we probably are going to eventually open a club out in California because the more I thought about it, I thought, wait, I'm looking at California how it is now.
Mm-hmm.
What I need to do is look at it after or towards the end of the transition where people are looking for someplace to run to. Where can I get honest local information, one-on-one education, on on what the hell is going on. And that's what these clubs are. That's what I'm actually creating, is a network of clubs that in the future, like you and I will actually go on tour for like a month or two and hit every single club that we have. That way we don't have like rent locations. We don't have to worry about, putting out a ton of money for the tour if we already have a place that we can go to, and that is actually planning out the tour with us. And that I really think is going to be so important for the general public, because here in Sarasota, 90% of who's walking in our door is general public people. Like, is this a club for people who own Bitcoin? What is this? And we have brochures. We have an education course. We have meetings for like entrepreneurs. We actually partnered with the Chamber of Commerce. We're introducing blockchain and cryptos and into this whole area. It's so weird, Bix, because now, as I've actually been on local news, I host a weekly local radio show that is, it was only, well, a few weeks ago, I was #1 in the whole area. And I do 1 hour show a week on Saturday morning at 7.
I think that's the beauty of it, is people are thirsty for this kind of information. They don't know why yet. And they don't understand that for the most part, that just the fragile edge that our entire system is holding together at this point in time. But when they do understand that, oh shit, everything is falling apart, they're not going to be going to the U.S. Treasury. They're not going to be going to the World Bank. They're not going to be, saying, oh, give me your CBDC. They're going to be saying, how did I not know this was going to happen? Even though I heard everybody saying it, and I just thought it was conspiracy theory. I didn't fully understand and grasp how fiat money works, how the banking system works. All you have to do is watch It's a Wonderful Life to understand how the banking system works. We saw a live demonstration of that with Silicon Valley Bank back in the beginning of this year. Imagine that on a global scale, with every bank getting a run on the bank, and no bank. That's how money is created at the bank level for the most part, not really at the Fed level or the congressional level. It's really created by the banks. When they have $1 in their, $100 in their bank, they lend out 900. That's newly created money. And that's great when things are going up. When everything's great, the bankers make $1 zillion. But coming back, it's like shooting a fire hose through a Dixie cup. Is like, just think of that. Try to fill up a Dixie cup with a fire hose. And that's the kind of action we're going to see when everybody tries to get out of their bank. They won't be able to, and things will just shut down. And that's when we say, okay, are we going to bail out the banks anymore? Well, I doubt it. Congress can't agree on anything. The Fed's giving as much money as they want away right now, but they know there's an end game for this. And that end game is the end of fiat money. And as painful as it will be for people, in the long run, we'll be better off than we would have if we kept this game going.
I completely agree. Now, another question I have for you. This is something I said on a show last week, and I think I'm right, but I wanted to run it by you because you grew up in this system. You were a banker, right? So you know that you were in the belly of the beast. You were the beast. Do you think one of the reasons that the Federal Reserve can't really get their hands around inflation right now is there's so many dollars outside of America that are now rushing in to America?
I don't think that, because I know the scope of the manipulation and control of inflation and everything lies within these computer programs invented by Alan Greenspan in the early 1970s. This is the guy who invented our electronic banking system, blames himself for Y2K, and wrote the first rigging programs working for the Fed. His mentor was a guy named Arthur Burns, who headed the Fed in the 70s. And computers, people don't understand what a massive role computers have played in all our markets. They've given the riggers the ability to throw any amount of anything at a market to make it go up, down, or sideways. Just look at the crypto volumes, for example. Off the chart volumes, and look how much Bitcoin is traded every minute. It's insane because they're not really Bitcoin trading hands. The exchanges don't have them. It's just electronic blips going back and forth. And it's an easier to see thing on the crypto market and in the silver market, but it's the same with the stock market, the bond market, even the US dollar. So the inflation rate doesn't even matter because they get to tell you what it is. If the Fed really wanted to stop inflation, all they would have to do is raise the interest rates above the rate of real inflation, like Arthur Burns did when he raised interest rates to 20% back in the 1980s. That would stop it. It would take a couple of years for it to run through, but it would stop it. What Arthur Burns also did was rig the silver and gold markets and certain markets. So that was all part of it. By Janet Yellen or by Jerome Powell not raising it above much higher than at all of current inflation rates, tells me one thing. Tells me they don't want to stop it. They want this game to end one way or the other. And then it's up to, okay, will the bad guys take over or will the good guys take over? I'm banking on the good guys, and the good guys are us. We can take over our own monetary system. We have cryptos. They work great. We've spent a lot of time and effort. They work so much better now than they did 10 years ago. Also, we have this thing called the constitutional money of gold and silver. So at least in the United States, we have a few options that we can go to without going to the Federal Reserve. I mean, the Treasury, if they had an ounce of self-respect when this system falls apart, would talk to the people and say, hey, what do you guys think about going back to a gold and silver standard? And oh, by the way, we have all this gold and we have all this silver, and we can implement, we can use the blockchain so you don't have to carry it around in your pockets, things like that. That would be an honest system run by honest people, hopefully. But it doesn't, because we have the blockchain, we don't have to worry if they're honest or not. We can see for example, our silver eagle, that we can scan the molecular structure, the crystalline structure of the eagle, and put that on the blockchain so that specific eagle is known to be yours, and you can hold it if you want, or you can keep it at the mint vault or wherever you want to keep it. But at any time, you can go in and get it. And the moment that one silver eagle doesn't match up, and we find out the government is lying and cheating, and we can see it on the blockchain, that's when we say, hey, you're out, or you take that person, you string him up. It used to be that, you counterfeit the money, it was punishable by death. That's how important it was. I think we'll get back to that point, punishable by death if you try to counterfeit any type of U.S. money.
What you just said reminded me of a conversation I had with a guy up in Washington, D.C. His brother-in-law, or someone he knows pretty close, works at the Treasury Department. And there was a proposal to have the reserves of America, which would be gold, silver, land, and oil, I think, and also natural gas, have those actually the value of that tokenized into the new digital currency that would be coming out under Trump. Now, this was when Trump was in there. That
I heard the same thing, and at first I thought about it, that'd be great, but then I thought more. I'm like, you can't verify the gas, the natural gas. I mean, people don't have that option. You can verify an ounce of gold, an ounce of silver that belongs to you, and only if you can take it out of the system if you want. You can hold it, or you can leave it there, and you can go in there and say, okay, I'm going to take it out if you don't trust it. But oil and gas, people have long been talking about, like the petrodollar. The petrodollar was not, it was not a situation where the dollar was backed by oil. That wasn't the situation. It was a way to make sure everybody in the world had to buy oil with US dollars, which created artificial demand. And the way it was done was to go behind the back of the world and say, hey, Saudi Arabia, here's what you're going to do. You're going to sell oil for dollars only and tell all your friends to do that. And then you're going to reinvest those dollars in the stock market, the US stock market, to make us look stronger. And that was a fraud. The whole thing was a fraud. So tokenization of money doesn't need to be tokenized. Money's money. Bitcoin's a Bitcoin. An ounce of silver is an ounce of silver. An ounce of gold is an ounce of gold. If you want to, make it more fungible so that you can go to your local, coffee shop and buy a coffee with part of your silver, yeah, you can tokenize it. But in that situation, if it was tokenized by oil, what are you going to do? Go in and get your half gallon of oil and say, hey, this is my money? No, it's just, remember, in a new monetary system, trust will be gone. There will be no trust because everybody's lost everything because we trusted those people before. And there are trustless ways to do this. But if you start getting, let's turn this into something that all the commodities in the world are in a basket, and we'll have the IMF run the basket, or that shit won't fly anymore.
Yeah, you've actually said that that the new system cannot be ran by and will not be ran by the old players. There's no way that anyone will accept that.
Yeah. And see, the old players think, oh yeah, we'll just crash the system and everybody will come to us for the solutions and the answers, and we'll introduce a new world monetary system with CBDCs or something like that. The reality is those people are going to be strung from telephone poles. They'll be the ones we hunt down who they were the cause of the problem. They were the reason I lost my 401k, my savings account, my checking account, my college fund, I can't buy gas today. They were the reasons. They're the ones who should be hunted down. And they were not honest with us. They were not truthful. And to move into a world like that, they call it Web 3.0. It's everything in Web 3.0 will be decentralized. Everything you can decentralize should be decentralized. So governing, do we really need a U.S. government that with directly and indirectly, a third of the people work directly or indirectly for the government? And I'm like, what? Our founding fathers said, hey, we need a tiny federal government. And state and local governments, there's so many regulatory issues that could all be done on the blockchain. You don't need Gary Gensler. We don't need the bullshit. We're free people. We're born free people. We're going to stay free people. So yeah, I think Web 3.0 is humanity's only hope for after the crash. During the crash, all bets are off. You're not going to know the price of Bitcoin or gold or silver or anything. Those exchanges won't even be open. And how many years will it take to start an exchange that people trust? I don't know. It could be a lifetime. It could be our lifetime, literally. But we don't know. But we're going to have to figure this out. And if we have sound people walking in saying, okay, we know the system's bad. We've erased the system. let's vote on, for example, let's vote on with true voting, not the kind of voting we have now. Let's vote on what new system we want. It's not going to be forced upon you. You can choose to participate or not. That's got cryptos all over it. That's got, precious metals. You can use anything you want, but you don't want to use something that you have to trust somebody else. So the only thing I can think of that covers that would be assets in your own possession, real money in your own possession, not the bullshit that we have right now that are held by a bank, the most criminal people in the world.
Yeah, and as for the voting system, it would be so easy to blockchain.
It was done. The U.S. Postal Service actually got a patent for a voting system in 2016 before the Trump election. They were going to implement it, and then something happened and put everything on hold. And then, these politicians don't want real voting. No matter which side you're on, they don't want real voting. They know they'd all be voted out.
What the system I've actually had worked out in my head was you keep paper ballots, right? Everyone votes on a paper ballot, but when it goes into the computer, right, it is then turned into a hash in an algorithm using the NFT idea. Because each of those documents, if you have to sign your name under each level, like city, I'll vote for these. Then you sign your name. Then county, I'll vote for these. Then state, I'll vote for these. And federal, this is who I choose as president or whatever. Under each layer of those, you have to sign it. And when you slide it into the machine, just like in NFT, it will use cryptography to actually generate a unique ID of that graphic.
The problem, and I don't remember exactly because I read it once. The patent that the post office set up, it was based off of the blockchain. The problem that they solved in that patent was you didn't have to trust the computer system once you put it in. Because that's what a lot of people say, oh my God, how do I know this isn't what they're doing today? Just tabulating it, changing the software. It's all got to be open source software, but it's all got to be able to be seen by every single person on the planet. And I don't remember exactly how they did it, but they set up a system on the blockchain, and it was such a good system that would have worked. They got a patent for it from. It's literally at the U.S. Post Office. I think that the post office is going to play a much bigger role when these banks go down that have, they have their kind of mini vaults and their things. I would, all that real estate's going to come onto market because, the banks have no money left. They have no money now. It's just, it got pulled out. I think the post office would be a great place to keep, if there is a new gold silver type standard in the US, to keep the gold and silver. Every post office has money capabilities. They usually have, the bulletproof screens and all that. It would be a much bigger deal because there won't be any banks to circulate money.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to use, at least for now, for the next 50 years, probably something as money. I think after that, we'll probably go into replicators and all that. We won't need any money, but for now, we're going to need a place to keep our assets safe. And it's not going to be the banks because they'll be gone. So the next best thing I think that each town has is a post office.
Well, originally in America, uh, post office was a bank.
Mhm.
You could hold your money at the post office, and so that makes sense. I mean, we all we have a historic example that, and it did work whenever we didn't have centralized banking. Uh, and yeah, that would absolutely work. And what they could do is they could use the actual like Bitcoin blockchain as to hold the information.
Oh, definitely. And I think that's what was in the patent was you would use the Bitcoin blockchain, which is the largest and the safest
Yeah,
blockchain. And once we're into that world and we've kind of figured out where we want to go, it'll be even larger and safer with more and more people saying, "Oh my God, governments will be running Bitcoin mining operations and all that." So yeah, there's a way around this. As Cliff says, technology will help us come out of this. Without the technology, we'd be done for.
yeah.
And
Oh,
um,
I agree.
I agree with that too. But yeah, it's been a long road, and I'm exhausted from I've been doing this almost 25 years in the anti-bank side. I
Well,
was
you
25
don't
years.
look a day over 24 years of fighting them.
Dude, I turned 60 in July. 60.
60.
Yeah.
God.
I don't feel 60. I don't act 60, but I
No,
will be 60 years of age.
and you look good, Bix. You really do.
Working on
It's
it.
it's which reminds me, my wife told me to tell you that we are going to plan a trip there soon.
All right, come to California.
Yeah, well,
Behind enemy lines.
we're probably going to have to sneak in. I'll have to smuggle us in there. But yeah, it's. I'm worried about the future, but I'm excited about the future because um, this is how I explain it. It's like you're in a bad relationship and you know it has to end, so you dread the fight, but you look forward to it ending.
Yep. And that's I think that's the if there's anything I want to leave with you guys, it is that there are people working on the back end of this crash.
Yes, please give us some.
And absolutely. And I got this, from the horse's mouth, from the information from that I discovered from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, the whole Road to Ruta, the comic book and the teacher's guide and all the things that I've studied. We have a lot of gold we can implement from various places, including the Grand Canyon. I know I've talked a lot about that. Um, and there have been people work for over 100 years working on this. And this is nothing new to the people behind the scenes. They know exactly what has been done to our country. There are good people working to fix the problem and to implement a way forward. So I think right now would be the best time for this to happen before more evil things happen, and they're happening all the time. But that's because we keep trying to kick the can down the road. We need, for the sake of our kids, to fix the problem that we inherited from our parents. But we are the generation to do that. We have the technology to move into something new fairly fast and fairly smoothly. It's just let's do it. Now is the time, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vic, so much for your time. And we we need to do another show in the future because what I really uh, I want you to talk about all of the pyramids in the Grand Canyons. And there's so much that is on FGTV, our new television channel that I'm launching here in Sarasota. There's a lot of people that don't know about that.
Right. And a lot of it you're not allowed to know. And that's the beauty also of crashing of the old system. A lot of secrets revealed, as Cliff calls them, will come out. And all the things you guys, how could people not know about this? It's all coming out, truth and honesty going forward, and it's going to be an amazing world.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bix, and have a great day, brother. I love you.
Thank you, guys. You have fun at Woowoocon. Woo woo.
Woo woo. Woo woo, God. All right, Bix.